Sabina Nessa was 28 years old. She was a primary school teacher in London, someone trusted with children, routines, and responsibility. Friends described her as gentle, kind, and reserved. She was not someone who sought attention. She lived a quiet life, focused on work, family, and close friendships. Sabina was born to Bangladeshi parents and grew up in the United Kingdom. Teaching was not just her profession, it was her purpose. She believed in shaping young minds and giving children a safe, supportive environment, something she herself valued deeply. On the evening of September 17, 2021, Sabina left her home in Kidbrooke, South London, to meet a friend at a nearby pub. It was a short walk, less than 5 minutes. A route she had taken many times before. She never arrived. Her journey took her through Cater Park, a public green space surrounded by residential buildings. It was early evening. Families lived nearby. Nothing about the moment felt dangerous. But that night, violence was waiting. The next day, Sabina's body was found in the park. She had been brutally murdered by a stranger. The shock rippled across London almost immediately. How could a woman be killed on a short walk in a familiar neighborhood? How could this happen in a public space, in a major city, in 2021? Sabina's murder was not just a crime, it was a moment that forced society to confront a painful truth. Women are not safe, even in ordinary moments. The police launched a murder investigation. As news spread, fear spread with it. Women across the UK began sharing their own stories, walking with keys clenched in fists, avoiding parks at night, sending live locations to friends. Sabina's death echoed another recent tragedy, the murder of Sarah Everard earlier that same year. Together, these cases ignited a national conversation about women's safety. But for Sabina's family, this was not a conversation. It was devastation. Her parents lost a daughter. Her siblings lost a sister. Her students lost a teacher who would never return to the classroom. In the early days, very little was known. Police confirmed it was a targeted attack but did not release details. The lack of information created anxiety, especially among women who used similar routes every day. Was the killer still free? Was anyone safe? As tributes appeared, flowers, candles, handwritten notes, one message appeared again and again: she should have been safe. Sabina did nothing wrong. She was not reckless. She was not in a dangerous place by choice. She was simply walking to meet a friend. This is what made her case so powerful. It destroyed the myth that safety can always be controlled by behavior. Sabina followed the rules society tells women to follow, and still, she paid with her life. In the days following her death, police increased patrols in the area. Women were advised to stay alert, avoid walking alone at night, the same advice repeated after every tragedy. But many asked a deeper question: why is the burden always on women? Sabina's murder exposed a painful imbalance. Instead of focusing solely on preventing violence, society often teaches women how to survive it. Her case became a symbol, not because she was famous, but because she was ordinary. And that terrified people. Because if this could happen to Sabina Nessa, it could happen to anyone. At this stage, justice had not yet arrived. The killer was unknown. Fear filled the silence. But this was only the beginning of the story. A story that would soon reveal chilling truths and force the justice system to act.
After the discovery of Sabina Nessa's body in Cater Park, South London, fear spread quickly. What disturbed people most was not only the brutality of the crime, but how random it appeared. Sabina had been walking a short, familiar route. There were homes nearby, streetlights, normal life. Yet someone had attacked her. The Metropolitan Police launched a full-scale murder investigation. Detectives sealed off the park, combing through grass, pathways, and nearby streets for forensic evidence. Officers reviewed CCTV footage from surrounding roads, apartment buildings, and local shops. Every camera became a potential witness. From the beginning, investigators believed the attack was unprovoked and opportunistic. There was no evidence Sabina knew her killer, no sign of a robbery. This suggested something deeply unsettling. A stranger had targeted her simply because she was there, alone. As days passed without unrest, anxiety grew. Women across London changed their routines. Many avoided parks, shared live locations, or asked friends to walk them home. Sabina's murder followed the killing of Sarah Everard earlier that year, amplifying fears that violence against women was being normalized. Police appealed to the public for information. They released images of a man seen on CCTV near the park on the night of the murder. He was walking with a distinctive gait. This image spread rapidly across news outlets and social media. Then came a breakthrough. On September 28, 2021, police arrested Kosi Selamai, a 36-year-old man from Eastbourne, Sussex. The arrest sent a wave of relief and anger across the country. Selamai was not known to Sabina. He had traveled to London on the day of the murder, carrying a weapon. Investigators later revealed that he had spent time walking through the park earlier, seemingly searching for a victim. This detail shocked the public. It suggested premeditation, not a moment of impulse, but intention. For Sabina's family, the arrest brought a mixture of relief and heartbreak. Knowing the killer was in custody could not bring their daughter back, but it meant the immediate danger had passed, at least for now. As the investigation deepened, disturbing facts emerged. Police discovered that Selamai had previously been arrested for violent offenses. Questions rose about how someone with such a background could move freely, armed, without intervention. The focus shifted from just one man to a system that repeatedly fails to prevent violence before it happens.
In interviews, detectives described the murder as cowardly and senseless. There was no justification, no explanation that could make sense of it. Sabina had been targeted because she was vulnerable in that moment. This truth ignited public outrage. Vigils were held across London. Candles, flowers, and handwritten messages filled the entrances of Cater Park. One sign read, "This should not be normal." Women's rights groups demanded action, not words. They questioned why women were still being told to adapt their behavior rather than society addressing male violence. Social media campaigns surged. Hashtags calling for safer streets, accountability, and justice trended nationwide. Sabina's name became a rallying cry. Yet amid the public pressure, the justice system moved forward methodically. In October 2021, Kosi Selamai was formally charged with Sabina Nessa's murder. He appeared in court, silent, as prosecutors laid out the evidence, CCTV footage, forensic findings, and travel records that placed him at the scene. The strength of the evidence left little room for doubt. Unlike many cases where families are forced to endure long trials, this case moved swiftly. In June 2022, Selamai pleaded guilty to Sabina's murder. The plea spared the family from reliving the details in a prolonged courtroom battle, but the pain remained. The admission of guilt confirmed what many already knew. Sabina had been murdered by a stranger, targeted simply for being a woman alone. Justice, at least in legal terms, was now in motion. But questions remained. Could this have been prevented? Why did it take another death for attention to shift? How many warnings had society ignored? As the city awaited sentencing, the focus turned toward accountability, not only for the killer, but for systems that repeatedly fail women. The arrest brought closure to one chapter, but not to the larger story of justice. When Kosi Selamai stood in court and pleaded guilty to the murder of Sabina Nessa, the legal process reached a point many families of victims never get to see, a clear admission of guilt. There were no confusing verdicts, no endless appeals, no doubts about who was responsible. And yet, justice still felt incomplete. In July 2022, Selamai was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum term of at least 36 years before he could be considered for parole. The judge described the crime as brutal, cowardly, and predatory. Sabina had been targeted at random, attacked in a public space, and deprived of her life simply for existing in the wrong place at the wrong time. For the court, the sentence was justice. For Sabina's family, it was a confirmation of loss. During sentencing, members of Sabina's family delivered victim impact statements that silenced the courtroom. They spoke not in anger, but in grief. They described Sabina as a loving daughter, a devoted teacher, and a woman who believed deeply in kindness and fairness. Her mother spoke of empty chairs at family gatherings. Her siblings spoke of unanswered phone calls. Her loved one spoke of a future stolen. No sentence could repair that damage. Sabina's family made one thing clear. Their daughter's name should not be remembered only because of how she died, but because of what her death revealed about society. A mirror to society. Sabina Nessa's murder forced the United Kingdom to confront an uncomfortable reality. Her case came just months after the murder of Sarah Everard, another woman killed while simply walking home. Together, these cases shattered the idea that such violence is rare or isolated. Women across the country asked the same question: why does this keep happening? Public anger grew not only toward individual criminals, but toward systems that repeatedly failed to prevent violence. Many questioned why known offenders were free to move without adequate monitoring. Others criticized the lack of proactive measures to protect women in public spaces. Campaigns calling for safer streets, better lighting, stronger monitoring of violent offenders, and education around male violence gained momentum. Politicians made promises. Police departments announced reviews. New strategies were discussed. But skepticism remained. Because women had heard promises before. Justice beyond the courtroom. Legal justice had been achieved, but social justice remained uncertain. Sabina's death highlighted a painful pattern. After every tragedy, society mourns. After every tragedy, women are advised to change their behavior. And after time passes, attention fades. Many women spoke openly about how Sabina's murder changed their daily lives. Some stopped walking alone at night entirely. Others avoided parks and shortcuts. Parents worried about daughters. Friends checked in on each other constantly. Fear became normalized. This normalization is perhaps the most dangerous outcome of all. Sabina's story reminds us that violence against women is not about personal choices, it is about systemic failure. No amount of caution can eliminate risk when danger comes from unpredictable, violent individuals. Remembering Sabina in the months following her death, tributes continued to appear at Cater Park. Flowers wilted and were replaced. Candles burned out and were relit. Sabina's name did not disappear. Her former students remembered her kindness. Colleagues remembered her patience. Friends remembered her quiet strength. Sabina was a teacher, someone who dedicated her life to shaping safer futures for children. That irony was not lost on those who loved her. She believed in safety. She believed in fairness. She believed in community. And yet, the community failed her. What justice for women truly means, justice for women cannot stop at sentencing. It must include prevention, not just punishment. Rotation, not just reaction. Listening, not dismissing action, not statement. Sabina Nessa's case proves that justice can arrive, but often too late. Her life should not have ended for the world to start paying attention. The question that remains as the case closed, one question refused to fade: are women truly safe? Sabina was doing nothing extraordinary. She was walking to meet a friend. She was living her life. If safety cannot be guaranteed in such moments, then justice must become more than a courtroom outcome, it must become a societal commitment. Sabina Nessa deserved to arrive at that pub. She deserved to return home. She deserved a future. Her killer was caught. Her name was heard. But her story leaves behind a responsibility, one we cannot ignore. Justice punished the killer, but protecting women remains everyone's responsibility.